What is going on, YouTube? So coming back today with my official top 25 for college football for 2016. So we're just a couple days out of the season now. I believe the first game is this Thursday, the 26th. So AP poll came out yesterday, or actually no, today. So that makes for all of the major polls to have been released now. All you have during the off season that anyone really goes by and actually takes somewhat seriously is the ESPN's FPI rankings. Those are out pretty quickly after the previous season ended. So, but Coaches Poll and AP Top 25 both out now. So I'm going to give you guys kind of how I'm going to do this video format wise, and that is, excuse me. I'm going to start by giving you guys just obviously my rankings, and then I'm going to tell you where they are in the AP and Coaches Poll. I'll put a link in the description below to the Coaches Poll and AP Poll as well. I'm not going to write out what they are in the AP and Coaches Poll in the description, even though I'll give you the list of the rankings. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. So I'm going to start you guys with my 5 outside. Do kind of what I did last year with that, and I'm probably going to continue that into this year as well. So let's start with the first one. These are no particular order. At number 5, actually, they kind of are. At 5, I got South Florida. This is going to be a little bit higher than most people are going to have them heading into the season. There's a few teams in the group of 5 that I think deserve a little bit of recognition heading into the season aside from Houston, and I think those include Boise State, San Diego State, South Florida, and Appalachian State. There are a few other teams you could go with there as well. But South Florida, I think, really could build something special this year. They're trying to make a pitch to the Big 12, even though their pitch itself didn't go that well since they misspelled some words in the first 2 sentences. But either way, I like the look for them for this year. PJ Walk, Marlon Mack, mainly big-time players this year. South Florida is 41 in the AP and unranked in the Coaches Poll. So next one, PJ Walker, I'm thinking Temple. Quentin Flowers is South Florida. So number 4, we got Baylor. And again, if you watch my top 25 to close out last season, way too early for this season, I had Baylor a lot higher. But man, like I said, the news just keeps getting worse for them every week. Ish Zamora will be suspended for a couple of games this year, I believe. Johnny Jefferson just got injured for an unknown amount of time. Those are 2 more important players to a team that really can't afford to lose anything else. So at number 3, I got Washington State. And Washington State, I firmly believe can contend in the Pac-12 North, but I think they're kind of at the bottom of the top 4 right now. All 4 teams very capable of winning the Pac-12 North between Stanford, Washington State, and Oregon. When you have players talented as Luke Falk behind center, in my opinion, one of the easily top 10 quarterbacks, maybe top 5 in all of college football, he's going to put up big stats. Sorry I get cut off there, but anyway, moving back to Washington State, talking about them, I believe in my 5 outside at number 3. They are AP poll 29, Coaches Poll 30. Right now, like I said, I just think it's hard to picture them coming out on top of the Pac-12 North this season, especially with a team like Stanford just being such an overwhelming favorite right now to take that division. So at number 2, I don't know about overwhelming, but at least clear favorite. Anyway, at number 2, got the Miami Hurricanes, a team that I think can at least hopefully finally get back to their old ways, at least start to. This is a team that has possibly one of the 2 best quarterbacks in college football this year. I don't know about one of the 2 best, but at least as far as the NFL draft goes next year, he is second in the pecking order to Deshaun Watson as of right now. Miami is Coaches and AP poll 26. Again, just outside the top 25. A lot of people had them inside their top 25 to begin the season, though. So at number 1, I got Wisconsin. And again, the 5 outside weren't in really any particular order, even though it kind of seems like it looking at it now. But anyway, Wisconsin was actually my prediction to win the Big Ten West this year. Iowa will be the favorite heading into the season. They are the favorite heading into the season. But I think Wisconsin can put up a good fight this year. The Joel Stave era is over. Corey Clement can hopefully stay healthy this year. He has the ability to be a top 10 running back in college football. But anyway, Wisconsin is 32 AP, Coaches Poll 27. So at number 25, moving into the top 25, we're gonna start with Boise State. So Boise State was unranked in both the AP and Coaches Poll, as in they were not inside the top 25. They were AP 29 coaches, AP 30 and coaches 29. I just think they're setting up for something special this year. I talked about it before. I think Jeremy Nichols is a very underrated running back when it comes to the national landscape. I think when you talk to a lot of people that like watching or like talking about some of the better group of 5 teams on the rise, Brett Rippon's a name you got to mention if you're talking about quarterbacks that could really have a breakout year this year. Boise State finally showed what they were hoping to do all of last season. They didn't even win the Mountain West last season. What they had wanted to do when they were able to just beat the living daylights out of Northern Illinois in their bowl game. But anyway, at number 24, we got the Oregon Ducks. And, it seems like Oregon's little post-Chip Kelly downfall. I mean, I don't know if it's over yet. We'll see what happens. They're going to go for another year, the graduate transfer idea. With Dakota Prokop, the transfer from Montana State. Royce Freeman again, stud as always. And I think Oregon's a little bit deeper on offense this year. Well, obviously the big question is on the defensive side of the ball. Again, I had them prediction-wise. It's finishing second in the Pac-12 North when I did my original predictions, but we'll see what happens between them and Washington right now. I think they're kind of in the same boat when it comes to positioning the Pac-12 North right now. Oregon was AP 24, coaches 22, so right around where I got them in my rankings. So at number 23, I got the Florida Gators, and reigning SEC East champions had a rough finish to the season last year, especially after Will Grier went down. Luke Del Rio was just named the starting quarterback, so I think that's good. I think they picked the best guy to be able to lead the offense this year. We'll see if he's any type of capable this year. To be able to lead this offense, hopefully better than Treon Harris did. This is a team, though, that, there are definitely some question marks on offense. The running game, I think that's going to be where the biggest question marks are. The defense will be sound, again, in my mind, even though I believe Jalen Tabor was suspended for the first game. Granted, it's against UMass, so they'll probably be fine. Florida was both AP and coaches 25, so I do have them a little bit higher than most people do, but I think that they really are a genuine top 25 team this year, as still maybe the SEC East favorites. I'd say besides Tennessee. So USC at number 22. They're AP 20, coaches poll 17. And again, they just named their starting quarterback today. As expected, they named Max Brown the starting quarterback. Again, I think this offense will be set up for a lot of success this year. When you're talking about the offense, I think a name you're going to have to watch out for is Ronald Jones. I do still think Justin Davis is the starter. I do believe Justin Davis is the starter right now on the depth chart for USC, and then obviously you've got Juju Smith-Schuster, maybe the best wide receiver in the country, on that offense as well. Look for Cam Smith to be able to lead the defense. Had a tremendous freshman year last year. I think this can still be a somewhat talented defense for USC this year. For me, USC, the biggest problem is just the schedule. They're not set up too well to succeed this year. They do have the toughest schedule in the nation, I do believe, and they start out the year against reigning national champion Alabama, so no favors early. So number 21, we got the North Carolina Tar Heels. They were number 22 in the AP poll, and I believe number 20 in the coaches poll. There's been a little bit of talk recently about how Mitch Trubisky is actually going to do this year. He was somewhat of a hot topic over the offseason. Like, everyone knew he was taking over, and I feel like most people know he's capable. But the hot takes on Mitch Trubisky are really starting to heat up now. Again, I mentioned my opinion on UNC a lot. I think they're going to be a pretty hard team to knock off in the ACC this year. I just think they're the favorite to take their division right now. Again, Mitch Trubisky, I don't think that is going to miss a step after they lost Marquise Williams. Elijah Hood is debatably, I'd say top 15, probably not top 10, though, for running backs in the country. And I think they are loaded once again at wide receiver. Matt Collins, Ryan Switzer, just a couple names to know. But anyway, number 20, we got the Washington Huskies. And again, I did an entire video about this team, how I think they're kind of like the perfect sleeper for the college football playoff this year. Actually, no, that was Florida. Washington, I said, would be the most improved team. Now, that's not... I don't think that's too far-fetched. I think that's the thing that actually a lot of people think at this point. But, Jake Browning coming back for his sophomore year, and John Ross, and Myles Gaskin. There's a lot of hype around Myles Gaskin heading into this year, and for good reason. Tremendous freshman year, and I believe he's even listed on the Heisman odds list. So even the fact that you can even get on that shows that made a name for yourself as a freshman. So at number 19, I got the Oklahoma State Cowboys. So AP 21, coaches 19. I think they're kind of the consensus third favorite right now to win the Big 12. A lot depends on the offensive line, how Barry Sanders Jr., Chris Carson, all of them are going to be able to hold up in the running game. And obviously the defense is, I think it's got to be maybe a little bit, it's got to be a lot better than it was down the stretch last year. There's no doubt about that. So, at number 18, got the Louisville Cardinals, AP 19, coaches 23. Louisville, a team that is hard. It's hard to see them finishing the year better than people. I think it's hard to see them finishing the year better than people already have them in their division at number 3, right behind Clemson and Florida State. It's just, I don't think there's a better 1-2 punch of any teams in one conference, let alone one division, as Clemson and Florida State. If Louisville's able to pull off an upset here or there, that's obviously going to go a long way. But that's 2 extremely hard games to win, not to mention an ACC title game. But anyway, Lamar Jackson coming back for, I believe, his sophomore season after leading Louisville to a bowl game, or to a bowl win last year over Texas A&M. Again, a team to watch out for that I don't think that some people still might not be expecting to do big things this year. So at number 17, we got the Iowa Hawkeyes. And again, Iowa probably the consensus favorite to win the Big Ten West again this year. Iowa not traditionally a team that's great in having back-to-back 10-win years. It's just something that hasn't happened in, I think, over a decade. They've had themselves a few 10-win seasons. Last year was really a magical year for Iowa. They had a lot of close wins they were able to pull out. They were 4 points away from Wisconsin winning the Big Ten West, and they were one. And then on the other end of that, they were one touchdown away, 1 goal line stand away from winning the Big Ten title and then going to the college football playoff. So, and they got just whacked in their bowl game against Stanford. But again, there's a lot. There's going to be a lot on the shoulders of C.J. Beathard this year. They got a lot of returning experience at some key positions. Again, Des King, I think, is just a name you got to watch out for. One of the best defensive backs in the country. But again, they are AP 17, coaches 15. So we'll see if they can contend for a Big Ten title again this year. Be interesting to see. So number 16, we got the Georgia Bulldogs, AP 18, coaches 16. And, my personal opinion, I think it's going to either be Florida or Tennessee that takes the SEC East, but obviously you can't count out Georgia. They're still in that top 3. It's going to be very interesting to see how Georgia responds to all the offseason changes this year. Kirby Smart coming in, probably going to get Nick Chubb back, still got a great running back behind him in Sony Michel, a brand new quarterback in Jacob Eason, and a secondary that's probably going to be pretty good this year. So it's not a team you can count out. I mean, Kirby Smart was able to put together literally some great defense at Alabama, and he might be able to do that at Georgia. We'll see. Still a team that can recruit very well. So number 15, we got the TCU Horned Frogs. They are AP 13, coaches 14. Maybe a team that's a little bit overrated heading into the year, considering they only have 3 returning starters on offense. But they are stacked on defense. Their defense should be very good this year. Again, I tend to name the best players on each defense as the video's gone along. But Josh Caraway, again, big name to watch out for. I think it's underrated how much talent they do have at skilled positions on offense this year. Deontay Gray, Kavontae Turpin I think are going to be absolute studs this year. Kavontae Turpin played both a little bit in the backfield, mainly a wide receiver though. And then obviously a lot will fall on the shoulders of Kenny Hill if he will be able to be successful. He has not been able to be successful for a full season yet in college. But at the same time, this is an offensive coordinator in Doug Meacham that has been able to turn around worse, as in Trevon Boykin, to one of the best players in college football. So, not going to say it can't be done. So, number 13. Number 14. I'm looking at the wrong rankings. So, number 14, we got the UCLA Bruins, and they are AP 16, coaches 24, so I got them ranked a little bit higher than most people. But I do think it's right around the ballpark where they'll finish this year. Obviously, a rough finish to the season last year after losing to a 5-7 Nebraska team at the time in their bowl game. But I just don't think that Josh Rosen was just mature and confident and consistent throughout the entire year last year, to the point where UCLA was going to achieve the level of success that a lot of people expected them to. That's just kind of a UCLA thing, though. They haven't really... Whenever they have high expectations, it's not like they completely collapse, but it seems like they're not always able to reach him. But again, Josh Rosen, in my opinion, will develop into a top 10 quarterback in the country this year if you don't already consider him one. Losing Paul Perkins, I mentioned a million times, hurts, yes, but Soso Jamabo, I don't think will skip. I don't think he'll miss a beat. This is a guy capable of rushing for 1,500 yards. And then defensively, this team's just going to be absolutely stacked. They lose Miles Jack, again, will hurt. I think Eddie Vanderdoes will, at defensive tackle, will be able to lead this team, at least lead the defense to be maybe one of the most stout defenses in all of the Pac-12 this year. So at number 13, we got the Houston Cougars. So AP 15, coaches 13, obviously far and away the highest ranked group of 5 team, at least that I have. Again, a lot falling on the shoulders of Greg Ward Jr. This Houston team, it's really going to come down to one game. There's one make or break game for them. That's the OU game. If they prove themselves to the point where they can beat OU, that really shows that they deserve to be in the college football playoff after the way that they beat Florida State in the Peach Bowl last year. Again, it is all coming down to that one game. I mean, not to say that the AAC is a pushover, because you're still going to have to beat a couple tough teams. I think if you're going to win the championship, you're going to have to run through Navy. I believe they do play Navy this year. Same division, yeah. Excuse me. Anyway, you got to run through Navy. I'm assuming if they do win this year, they're going to have to play a team like South Florida, maybe Temple, in the conference championship game, and I don't think that's going to be a pushover either. But either way, again, Houston's still, in my mind, the best group of 5 team. So at number 12, we got the Michigan State Spartans. AP 12, coaches 11. And again, they lose a lot. It's going to hurt, but I think this is a team that at least defensively can recover. Malik McDowell, they got a first-round pick along that defensive line, probably a top 10 pick at that. And I believe Tyler O'Connor will be named the starting quarterback. We'll see. I think Damian Terry still definitely got a chance to take that spot. Let me actually see if that's something that's been named right now. Sorry about the sound. Okay. Yeah, it seems like Tyler O'Connor has taken the favorite spot, but nothing officially named yet. But again, Mark D'Antonio's never had a problem with Michigan State really falling out of the top 25 at least over the last 5 years. I mean, they've really been one of the elite programs of college football, especially defensively. But losing a guy the name of Connor Cook, you lose a lot. I mean, you pretty much lose the heart and soul of your offense. But anyway, at number 11, we got the Ole Miss Rebels, AP 11, coaches 12. And, man, I think they're going to be good this year. I think they showcased what level they were at last year when they were able to just absolutely beat the crap out of Oklahoma State in their bowl game in the Sugar Bowl last year. They do lose. You lose a lot on defense. There's no doubt about that. I mean, Robert Nkemdiche, it's debatable how much value he actually brought to the team game to game. But anyway, I think this team's still going to be fine. They still got one of the best receiving corps, I think, in the country. Probably going to be led by Quincy Adebojo, but again, a team that I think needs to develop a running game, and they will be possibly the second best team in the SEC. We'll see. But anyway, at number 10, we got Tennessee, and AP 9, coaches 10. A lot of people still think they're overranked, maybe. This is a Tennessee team, though, that is definitely one of the top 10 most talented teams heading into the season. It's just, will they actually be able to meet expectations for the first time in about 10 years? I think fans are getting impatient. I think fans are beyond impatient. Last year was a good year with 9 wins. They finished off the year very well with the way they beat Northwestern. Just absolutely destroyed Northwestern, a top 15 team at the time. But again, carry the momentum into this year, win the SEC East, and beating Alabama is going to be a big one too if Tennessee wants to be able to reach new heights this year. So at number 9, we got the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, AP 10, coaches 9. It seems like they're going to be running with Malik Zaire and Deshaun Kaiser both at running back, at least through the first game against Texas. This Texas game is going to be very telling. See how the teams progress from last year to this year. I mean, they whacked Texas last year 38-3 when they played in South Bend. This year it's in Austin. I think this is going to be at least a better Texas team. You're probably going to see a better offense. There's going to be a new quarterback, so it'll be a tough test for Notre Dame to kick off the season. But anyway, number 8, we got Stanford. AP 8, coaches 7. Maybe presenting the best player in the country, arguably. Again, I don't really think so. I think he's easily top 3, but most versatile, if nothing else. Again, I believe it's Keller Christ that will be the starting quarterback for Stanford. They lose a lot on both sides of the ball, which is why they're probably not considered a top 5 team. There's very few teams that built more momentum to finish the season last year than Stanford. I think another name to watch out for in the backfield is Bryce Love. Obviously McCaffrey's really all you need, but present some depth in a guy that I think can be the guy at Stanford after McCaffrey's gone, most likely after the season. So number 7, we got the Ohio State Buckeyes, AP 6, coaches 5. I think they're a little bit. I mean, it's hard to say just because of the way they beat Michigan last year, and I do have Michigan higher than Ohio State, but they're so close. Michigan returns more experience than Ohio State. Ohio State really loses a lot. I believe Briante Dunn was dismissed from the program like a couple weeks ago, which didn't help their situation at running back already after losing Ezekiel Elliott. But I don't doubt that Mike Weber can take the reins and really be a stud for Ohio State. I believe he is a true freshman, might be a redshirt. Either way, he's a freshman, and a lot's going to be put on his shoulders. No one more though than JT Barrett. That's kind of what everyone's relying on. That's pretty much what everyone says about Ohio State. They lose a lot, but they still got JT Barrett. They'll be fine. One of the Heisman favorites. We'll see if he can kind of return to that freshman form he had last year. Just, I think, too much inconsistency, too much going on between him and Cardale Jones, and then him with the one-game suspension about halfway through the year. I think with having more consistency, not as much expectations this year, Ohio State should be fine. Anyway, number 6, we've got the LSU Tigers. AP 5, coaches 6. LSU is going to have to find a passing game this year. There's no doubt about that. They have the athletes on the outside with Travin Durrell and Malachi Dupree. Obviously, they again arguably best player in the country with Leonard Fournette in the backfield. But I mean, there's no doubt about it. There's a lot. There's going to be a lot on the shoulders of Brandon Harris. This defense is going to be a top 10 defense talent-wise as well. Again, much like Florida, they got to find a quarterback that can make this offense go. So number 5, we got Michigan. AP 7, coaches 8. It's hard to say. It really is between Michigan and Ohio State right now for the Big Ten, it seems like. In my mind, they have a little bit of an edge over Ohio State, at least ranking-wise right now. Again, I'm not even trying to go to the extent of saying that Michigan will beat Ohio State this year. Just, again, I mentioned this always, just the way that Michigan got whacked last year. It's just not something you can say. It's at least not something I can say unbiased and confidently. Michigan this year, though, I do think they will be good. The quarterback battle is going to have a lot to do with it. Again, hopefully they can get some consistency at quarterback. Like they had last year. The offense, while it's hard to put into words. Either way, I think they got a lot of talent this year. I think Davion Smith is going to have to be big. He was good last year at times, will be the starter this year, but I can't go by this team without naming, at least in my opinion, the 4 most important players between Jay Huchess and Jake Butt on offense, and then Jabril Peppers and Jordan Lewis on defense. There really is so much talent, so much NFL level talent on that team. So at number 4, we got the Florida State Seminoles, and at this point, my rankings are exactly the same as the AP and coaches poll. I think it's just very set in stone in the top 4. AP 4, coaches 4, like I said, number 4 overall in my rankings. Sean McGuire out for the first game, so I believe it will be DeAndre Francois starting the first game really no matter what. So at least they got it figured out who's going to be playing quarterback. The rest of this team, though, this defense I think the defense is going to be absolutely polar. I think they're going to be one of the best defenses in the country this year, possibly the best. This is one of the most talented defenses Florida State's ever had. Dalvin Cook, again, a top 3 running back in this country. We'll see if maybe even can even take the stand as number 1 this year. He has the ability to do it. He's very explosive, very elusive, and I think he's got the star power to be able to take his name to a new level this year. So number 3, we got the Oklahoma Sooners. Again, a team that's got a very tough schedule for this year. I believe they do land Baylor at home this year. They get Oklahoma State at home. TCU on the road is going to be a tough one. If you're talking about in conference games, very well could be a game that the Big 12 comes down to in Fort Worth. And not to mention their out-of-conference schedule between Ohio State and Houston, 2 very tough games. Nothing's going to be given to OU this year. They go undefeated. There's no question. Possibly even could be the one seed in the playoff if they do that. But again, there's also been a lot of chatter about that OU Ohio State game as to whoever wins that will be able to make the playoff. I wouldn't doubt it though. So at number 2, we got the Clemson Tigers, and again, I personally think there's a difference to me in being the number 1 team in preseason rankings and then being the favorite to win the title. I do think Clemson right now should be the title favorite. It's just when you have, what's widely considered the most important player in football in the quarterback, in my opinion, as the best player in the country right now, in my opinion, I do think he's the best overall. I mean, there's a lot of people in the conversation, but when you have that guy, that level of, I think, maturity, talent, leadership, behind center, that you got a good guy to lead that team. I mentioned it a couple times. Cordrea Tankersley, Carlos Watkins, both I think would be studs on defense. They got a lot to replace. There's no doubt about that. But I do think that they will be able to do it to a certain extent. I don't think the defense is going to be like garbage or anything this year. But anyway, at number 1, we got the Alabama Crimson Tide. There's chatter to the extent of Blake Barnett will not be that good this year at quarterback for them, that Bo Scarborough might not live up to the hype, and that, with Kirby Smart gone, this defense just ain't going to be that good. One of the 3 might end up coming true, but, I still think the defense is going to be absolutely insane with the way they're able to recruit. And the fact, to some degree, that Jerron Reed is returning. I still think this defense is going to be absolutely great. They never, in the last couple of years, they haven't really been a team that, needed just a stud at quarterback when you knew preseason he was going to be just an absolute boss, just because, look at their last 2 quarterbacks they were still able to be somewhat successful with, between Blake Sims and Jake Coker. Blake Sims wasn't able to win a natty, but he still got him to the playoff. And then also with Coker, there was a lot of chatter all year, or at least at the beginning of the year, if he was even going to be able to get him to the playoff, and they won. And I think overall Blake Barnett, at least coming in as a freshman, is better than both those guys were coming in as freshmen. So we'll see. But again, having a freshman starting for Alabama, that's a lot of pressure to deal with. All right, so that was a long video, longest I've done in a while. But like I said, I'm very excited that college football is finally coming back. 5 days away. It's getting real. 5 days away till it starts. I'd say about still 10, 12 days until we actually get a good crop of games back. But either way, the fact that it's coming back, very happy. But anyway, that's pretty much it. See ya.